What is good, everybody, man? We are live. The next edition of the Coach's Corner, man, off-season live stream series, man. We had to get on, talk about the Legacy Bowl. I was there all week for practice. Coach got down there the final day of practice. Obviously, man, everyone watched the game. NFL Network yesterday afternoon, and we got our takeaways. We got to talk about what happened to North Carolina Central quarterback Davius Richard, man. I hate that for him. We got to talk about his injury, the impact of that, not just for him, but also the bowl game, which has been a huge topic of conversation across social media. And then also, we got to get into the biggest winners from the HBCU Legacy Bowl and HBCU Combine. And then we might hit a few of the viral topics that have been circling around the HBCU world. But of course, man, got to join by my co-host, Coach Fred. Coach, how we feeling, man?
Good, man. Good. Getting ready for spring ball right around the corner. So, been doing some field work today, and this weekend was a great weekend, man. Got to see some guys over at the Legacy Bowl in New Orleans, and all that stuff we'll get into. Got some great seafood while I was down there as well. Decided to treat yourself, treat your boy, and so it was a good day, good weekend. Good atmosphere all the way around, man. Just excited and ready to get rolling in this live, man. See what we can get into.
Man, it was beautiful weather all week, man. It was a little chilly the first day. Man, it was
Windy.
like 70, 80 all week, man. Last year, I don't know what happened or like what was going on at the end of February, man, but it felt like it was like 150 degrees in New Orleans last year, man. It was miserable last year. So I'm just glad I'm just glad it was comfortable out there. I'll say that. I know the players are too, because, man, last year the MEAC team had the very first practice on Monday, Coach. I'm talking about throwing up, cramping. I mean, it was so damn hot that they didn't know what to do out there. All those guys from like the Northeast and
summertime,
it was wild.
Yes.
For the game to practice.
What we do. Imagine what we do in 2 days, baby. And you here in February. Imagine June, July, baby. Yes, sir.
Man, let's start here, Coach. 10-6 final score. Team Gaither wins. Man, listen, I talked to my guy Ken Clark and G and everyone. I told them because I was there all week for practice. Me and my guy Gerald and a few other people. But we were talking to Ken, and I told him, I was like, bro, it might be a race to 10. Like I didn't see either team score. I mean, Coach, we're gonna get into it, but we got to do something about the offensive line play. I mean, it's so I don't know what to say. Like, especially on Team Robinson, for the past 3 years, the offensive line play has been atrocious, like unwatchable. It makes the game unwatchable because you might have some talented quarterbacks potentially, but man, you can't get the ball off.
Not even that. Go ahead.
Oh no, you're good. So MVP Davius Richard won offensive MVP. Zarion Hayes, Alabama A&M edge rusher, wins defensive player of the year. Man, shout out to both my guys. I've had them both on the show. Got to talk to Davius earlier in the week. We're going to get into his injury in just a little bit, Coach. But first, your overall takeaways of the game.
Hayes looked really good.
Yes.
He looked spectacular. And it kind of had me questioning what was actually going on in Alabama A&M, because he could, from what he showed there, he could take over a game by himself. I'm not sure what the other 10 people were doing during the season, but he was very impressive and he looked the part. So, I was really, really impressed with him. The receiver from Southern that got there late was really impressive. I got to see him in some on-air stuff. But as a receiver, watching another receiver, man, he's just smooth, shifty, in and out of his breaks, man. For a kid that showed up late, I think he did a magnificent job with the mindset and just attacking the opportunity. So, I like what I saw with him. Just to piggyback what you said on the offensive line situation, I went back and I got to finish my research, and I'll have it for another show. But maybe a lot of the guys that were top of the conference underclassmen, because I'm sitting there and I'm watching Hayes, and that poor tackle was just like, You know, so we've got to find a way, and I know it's a senior game. Got to find a way to level that part of it, and to make it uh, watchable, as you said. Because then the running backs, the running game doesn't get an opportunity to get off. There's receivers that are running wide open, but it doesn't matter because the quarterback can't get the ball off. So those are things that you got to look, and you just hope that as the game continues to go on, that part picks up and becomes better as well.
Yeah, I mean, because you're looking at what last year it was Jason Dumas and Nelson Jordan combined for it was like 13 and a half sacks. It was like an ignorant number of sacks.
Yeah.
They were in the backfield every single play. And I mean, unblockable. And Jason Dumas measured in at like 5'9", 5'10", and didn't even try to go to the league. After the game, he went and got a job with his engineering degree. So shout out to my guy Jason. But man, he was killing these guys who think they got a shot at the league.
Yeah.
It wasn't even fair.
It's a reality check.
I mean, this week, coach, I mean, there was a time it was day 1 or day 2 in practice. And, they're just doing basic scrimmage. It was the first day, nothing super fast, nothing live, nothing too crazy. Bro, the team Robinson gave up like 8 sacks in the scrimmage. And I was like, yeah, bro, like there's no way they're going to be able to block the MEAC team, because the MEAC team all week, man, looked way better at the line of scrimmage. I don't even think their offensive line looked great. They looked decent on the first drive with Davius, but I don't think the quarterback play was super great on that team. Anyway, Quentin Williams and those guys didn't look spectacular, which is why Davius, who played 5 plays in the first drive, won MVP. I don't know what the solution is. I understand, like my guy Dre said in the chat, the best offensive linemen don't play, but the problem is, let's take out the underclassmen can play if they declare early, but that's not really a thing for the FCS. Not too many guys declare early, like the Hayden Hattons, the Jaden Sherdens do, but that's really not a common occurrence. Who, outside of Aneem Dankwa, who was a good offensive lineman that didn't get invited?
And here's my bias. Our tackle TJ wasn't invited, but he got invited as a junior. But he didn't get an invite this year. Our kid Will, who played all across the line of scrimmage for us this year, didn't get invited. And just sitting there watching those guys, I think those 2 guys could have come in. Now, would they have been world beaters? No. So that's just here. So I can only imagine at other spots, guys that could have been formidable that got left out. When we kind of talk about the selection process, and the part that I talk about was like the quarterback situation. If we're saying we want to make it a competitive type of situation, we've got to take the best, whether it's Division I or Division II. We can't say that we're going to have 2 from this level and 2 from that level just to keep it kosher, because it's HBCU football. Aaron Allen had just as good a numbers as Musa. But wasn't given an invite because they wanted to give it to someone else at another level, another spot. But that's just me on my soapbox with that. And then the other thing that I saw, these kids have got to come in better shape. This is the opportunity of your lifetime. And, some of the guys up front, me watching a very spirited walkthrough, was huffing and puffing, hands on knees. And I understand, well, I don't understand because I've never carried around 300 pounds, but you've got to be able to go more than 10 plays in a walkthrough without, hands on knees falling over. This is an opportunity of a lifetime. You got to go out there and put foot to pavement when and you accept that invite to come to this game. You got to do everything in your power to come in and put out a good product.
Yeah, I mean, and I know people are going to watch the show back. I don't know if people are tuned in, how many people are tuned in now, but that's not just a bias from you. And me and G talked about this all week, and that was echoed by Charles Davis. That was echoed by Steve Weich. That was echoed by the director of player personnel for the game. Is why was Aaron Allen was a guy that everyone was kind of wondering why he didn't get an invite, because the QB play was that bad. It was like, if this is the standard, Aaron's above that, right? Like the bar is not at a Michael Penix level at the Senior Bowl. The bar was Davius Richard and Jeremy Musa, and I think you could put Aaron Allen in that group, especially with how some of the D2 guys played. I just, I think the selection process, there's a whole nother conversation we can have about that. But to stick to the game, for me, quarterback play is an issue. Offensive line play is an issue. Defensive line, they look elite. There was a lot of good defensive back plays. I like how a lot of the defensive backs played the ball. I think that, like, when I go through my winners of the week, there's a lot of defensive backs because the DBs played really well. And all week, and I think you saw it in the game, coach, there were a lot of drop issues for the wide receivers. I don't know if there just wasn't enough time to develop a lot of chemistry with the quarterbacks. Now, obviously, there were some misreads, but there were some pretty obvious drops. And then I don't remember which kid it was. One of the quarterbacks was trying to throw like a fastball every time he threw a pass. I mean, that thing was coming out like 900 miles per hour, and he didn't have any touch on it. But listen, it was going to come. It was going to hit you in the chest, which is just insane. But for me, defensive line, secondary. I thought the running backs had a good week too. As much as the offensive line didn't play well, I thought Ladarius Owens and Ja'Cory Howard and some of those running backs, Ian Wheeler, all had good weeks. I was really happy to see how well the running backs played, and I think it was a big week for tight ends, coach. Now, as bad as the wide receivers played, the tight ends were getting a lot of love this week, guys. Whether it was Kamari Young, whether it was the kid from UAPB, I mean, even some of the guys on the MEAC squad, Brennan from Howard was getting a lot of love. So I think the tight ends showed their versatility. I don't think the tight ends got it. I'm biased because I'm an offensive lineman, and I've seen it done at like South Dakota State. They got the same tight end O-line coach. He coaches both, and so the tight ends got to go with one-on-ones and show they can block. I would have liked to see the tight ends go into one-on-ones a little bit and have to block those DNs, block those edge rushers, but I thought they had an amazing week in one-on-ones in terms of catching the football, showing their route running, showing their athleticism and versatility, and all of them had good days at the combine as well, coach, measuring in, good height, good weight, hand size, all that was there, wingspan. So I thought tight ends, running backs, DBs, and defensive linemen probably were the highlights of this game this year.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I think one thing that could help the game, and then this will bleed over into the quarterback situation. I think that you've got to the directors of the game have got to hand whatever coaching staff is coaching the game an NFL playbook. And I know, some people will say, well, Baltimore does this with their guy, that does this, do this with their guy. And that's all well and dandy, but there's got to be a basis for what teams run for this game, to me. And this is just me outside looking in, fan/coach, because I think when you bring in different coaching staffs and then they try to implement their system, sometimes it may be overcooked. Where if I'm giving you a handout, hey, this is what you run from, and this is, however you put it in is how you put it in, but this is what it is. We got H-backs, we got tight ends. Tight ends are staying in and blocking. We're not primarily 10 and open 11 sets. We're more an NFL type of situation. And it went to where Rash's touchdown. I don't know if those kids were given the rules that we're playing pro rules. A guy falls down, he's not touched, he can get up and run. There's 4 guys standing around him and nobody thought to touch him. So I don't know. We haven't been selected to coach in that game as a staff. And I don't know if that's something that they're giving the coaches to give to the kids. But I think that's one of those things that got to go forward to make this game go to the next level. If we're playing NFL rules, then we got to play NFL football, to me. And I think that had a lot to do with the drops as well, because I think initially kids were out there with the college ball, which is different from the pro ball. Yeah. No excuses. Catchers catch, and that's what you're supposed to do. But you got to get work with those balls because it is a different size football. And we can't start the week throwing those Nikes, those Adidas, and then get the big Duke out there on Saturday and expect to be 100% with it. So if we're going to be NFL, I think the game has got to be completely NFL. And shout out to Owens, man, who who had a great
Yeah.
showing at the pro day thing.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Owens for that. I'm with you, Coach. I said it all week, and I've had multiple conversations with people involved in the game, people who were there throughout the week at practices, and this might be an unpopular opinion. That's cool. Uh, the model's there. Like, I don't understand why this bowl game's trying to reinvent the wheel with coaching staffs and all this stuff. It should be an NFL coaching staff, and if you want to invite the coaches from the winning squads of the SIAC and CIAA and SWAC and MEAC like you do, those guys shouldn't be the head coaches of the game. Let the NFL guys call the game and let those coaches from all these different programs get the experience working in the NFL system. That's what it should be. You should have NFL staff be the head coach and let the other coaches be the assistants for the week and get that experience. Do it just like every other bowl game. Like, I don't understand why this is the one bowl game where you don't have NFL staffs readily of, you know what I mean? Like, that would be a
Or
better experience.
or bring in a coach Leslie Frazier, who's
Yeah.
if we're going to keep it HBCU, bring in a coach Leslie Frazier to coach one squad, bring in an Aeneas Williams to coach the other squad. All those guys, except for Coach Frazier, who's just got a new job, a lot of those guys that aren't too far removed within New Orleans. If we're truly going to make this thing, wholeheartedly HBCU, let's involve these guys, like you said, in that way. Maybe the Raiders coaching staff don't want to come.
Yeah.
Maybe they, whatever. But you've got to find guys. I think you can find enough guys with HBCU ties that could come in and head the head coaching spot, head the OC, head the DC, and run it as a clinic for those staffs. But you're teaching the kids as well, and I think you're setting the groundwork for what happens on the Saturday when you're playing football.
Because I
My
look at
opinion.
it, yeah, I look at it kind of like, I don't think it should be structured just like this. Like the what is it? Oh my God. What is I forgot what the fellowship's called. It's the same thing Maurice did this year, where he got to go to the Senior Bowl and be on the
Yeah,
staff
yeah,
and
yeah.
with
Internship,
FAMU
yeah,
run. Yeah, the
yeah.
fellowship. I forgot exactly what it's called, but don't structure it just like that. But man, how many of those guys who got to work with NFL staffs have went on to get NFL opportunities? Like, that's the goal, right? Is for the coaches from all these programs to elevate to the NFL. Therefore, you have more representation in the staffs and stuff like that, and they can, and all feedback down. You don't know the type of connections you can make if you surrounded the staff with other NFL guys too. So I think I look at it from that standpoint as well. But Coach, we got to talk about the biggest storyline around the game, which was Davius Richard's injury. I want to offer an update. I can't give anyone an official injury report, nothing like that. But talking to his agent, talking to people around Davius, the injury is not as severe as we initially thought when it happened. The air cast, all that kind of stuff was more precautionary because obviously it looked like a severe injury, was in a lot of pain. But based on what I'm hearing now, is not as significant as it was, and hopefully he should be ready. He should be back working out in action soon, man. So shout out to Davius. I hated to see that. So hopefully that's a good sign. It sounds like nothing is super severe with the injury, which is best case scenario, man, because it was a scary moment on the field, and no one wants to see that, especially in an all-star game or any game in that matter. But Coach, I called you immediately after this happened, and there was a lot of there was a wide I guess range of reactions to this. My initial one was, this is his second all-star game. He's already played at the Hula Bowl. He's already proven everything he can. He's done the HBCU Combine. He's practiced at the Hula Bowl. He's practiced all week and was the best quarterback by leaps and bounds, and it wasn't even close throughout the week of practices at the Legacy Bowl.
Yep.
Why are we running QB keeper at the goal line?
Right.
What are we doing? And then on top of that, too, and I don't really fault the kid. I'm not going to use his name because I kind of know who did it. What are we doing diving at ankles at an all-star game and gator rolling players?
But and that goes to when I said about the playbooks. And I know people will come back and say this is what the Ravens do with Lamar. This is what they do with this quarterback. But in this situation, to me, if you're showcasing him, let him throw it.
Yep.
If that's what we're doing, give it to the running back. Put him on the edge in a sprint out type situation, because you're putting that kid that made that tackle in a tough situation. Davius is a big guy, and at that point, All-Star game, you and him in B gap, it's a business decision at that point. I can't back out because I'm trying to make it known that, hey, I'm not afraid of this thing. But as we get closer, 6'4", whatever how tall is he? 6'3"?
6'2".
6'2", 235, head of steam. Man, am I really trying to put this in his chest? And then the business decision has happened. And this is what kind of comes from it. So, to keep everybody out of that, I just think, if we're showcasing him, I don't think the question is, can he run the ball? I think the question has been about some of his throws. At that point, if I'm doing it, I'm throwing the fade to the other side. Let them see you drop that thing in the back corner, in the bucket, that kind of thing. Or I'm going to turn around and hand it to that guy, let him do his thing. Put him on the roll, let him see you throw the ball on the run. But to put it in a quarterback power situation, B gap, tight formation, that's tough. That's tough. And I get it. When you're out there, you're playing, you're calling, but you've got to also understand where you are in the situation.
Yeah, I get it, because I know people are reacting like it's hindsight almost, where it's
Right.
like, you saw the injury happen. Now you have this opinion. Man, listen, I tweeted out right after the injury. My guy, Gerald Huggins from Draft HBCU, man, working with FCS Football Central now, can vouch for me. Ken Clark, his agent, Davius's agent, I've said it all week. There was no reason for Davius Richard to play in this game. And a lot of people took it the wrong way, I feel like, where I was saying that, all these prospects shouldn't play. And it's like, no, the top prospects shouldn't play. And I understand everyone's going to say that's what, 4, 5, 6 guys, maybe. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
The same reason the top guys from the FBS level don't play in any All-Star games to risk getting hurt. The Aneem Donkwas, the Mikey Victors, the Sundiata Andersons, the Davius Richards, those guys should not be playing in multiple games. He already played in the Hula Bowl. Listen, Hula Bowl practices, coach, Hula Bowl game, NFL HBCU Combine, and 5 days of practice at the HBCU Legacy Bowl. There was, I hate to tell you guys this because coach can vouch for me. Every single scout left New Orleans Thursday night.
Yeah. And for people saying that the NFL doesn't want to be involved, I coached over in the HBCU showcase over in Mobile. You came over. There was 25 NFL scouts there, plus 4 or 5 CFL scouts there.
Yeah.
So to say that the NFL doesn't want anything to do with it, I think is far from the case, because they're there. They're showing up. They're doing their meetings, and to sit in those meetings, it's not fluff. It's not just to show. I mean, they're doing their homework. They're having individual meetings with these kids at night. And if they're doing it at the HBCU showcase, which is, I don't want to lessen it, not on the level supposedly of the HBCU Legacy Bowl, they're doing it there as well. Now, what goes into getting the coaching staffs to come, I don't know. I don't know if anyone in the chat knows, let us know. But, my thing is, those guys have a downtime as well. And they have a short window for vacations. They have a short window that they have to get all of their information put into the computer for the draft that's coming up as well, for pro days, all that stuff. So I don't think it's a thing of where they don't want to be involved, because honestly and truly, they don't have to show up.
Yeah. I mean, going back to the Davius thing, I think people overreacted. On social media, I saw a bunch of people claiming that people wanted to end the Legacy Bowl, which is outrageous. Like anyone who's saying end the game because of one injury is crazy. I don't think anyone's saying that, but to ignore the fact that some top prospects, and I say top, I'm not talking about guys, and I don't want to name names. I don't, you know who I'm talking about. If you're watching the show, we've heard me and Coach talk about some of these players. There were players there who needed the opportunity and needed the exposure because they weren't getting it elsewhere. Davius Richard had the exposure. He's
He
had
has
it
a
in
draft
multiple
grade.
spots. Yeah, he has a draft grade. Guys who already have proven what they proved, there was no reason for them to play in that game. If you were at the Shrine Bowl, if you were at the Hula Bowl, if you were at the Senior Bowl, why would you go to the HBC Legacy Bowl and play in the game and risk injury, especially at quarterback?
But and I know that's what we're talking about, but I want to make it known also there was kids that came and worked out for the Senior Bowl that didn't play in the game
Take Dell.
for that reason. So it's not an HBCU thing. It's the way we are now with these kids and their thought processes and their agents. It's the same reason Florida State whole team decided not to play in the freaking Orange Bowl. It's the same reason. Now, some of those guys that really needed it, played in the Orange Bowl. Yeah. Other guys that felt like they were day one guys, early day two guys, they didn't play. So, I mean, again, it's not, you have to know where you are in that process. Ladarius Owens, and I use him because he blew the roof off of it at Pro Day, but he still didn't have a draft grade. So he still has more work to do. So he needs to be there. He needs to play. He needs this opportunity. Davius Richard had a draft grade a while back. He didn't exactly need the game rep, so to speak. He didn't actually need that, but he was still there. So, to end the game is not, I don't think that should be even on the table.
Yeah, I don't even know who said that. I think that just people were taking stuff out. You know how it is in social media. I mean, you get 180 characters, might be like 220 now. People take like half. People take like half of a statement and then just go on like a rant that people were wanting to end the game. If anyone said that, dude, like no one's ending the game. Like that's crazy.
Ratings were good.
Yeah, that's wild.
Ratings were good.
I mean, it's one of I'll say this. So I've covered the Shrine Bowl. I've covered the Senior Bowl. I'll be honest, but covering the Legacy Bowl is more fun than any of the other games. Like the access we get, the treatment we all get as media, man. It's first. I love covering the Legacy Bowl. So man, I hope I like that's crazy. But to say
walk right up, got my credential, got access. Hey, you want to go up? You can go up. We got food up there. We got programs over here. You can get down on the field. Just show this. You go around this way. That's there. You go around that way. It was top notch. Top notch.
For me, it's looking at it as the top guys listen, in case you guys don't know, I was going to go through some news and notes that I heard from down there. Jarvion Howard killed the combine, killed day one to practice. Guess what Jarvion did? I'm out. I've done everything I can. No reason for Jarvion to go out there and tear an ACL. And so he didn't play. He ended up he went home, and that's good. That's what Tank Dell did after his breakout at the Senior Bowl. Now there were some guys who got sent home with injuries, and you might hit on that later. But man, like this is not like a uncommon practice, and I feel like people were taking that out of context. Where this happens for every bowl game, and injuries happen at every bowl game. And you can't prevent it, but the top guys are going to take more precaution. And for me, I understand the elevation, but most guys who get elevated to a second bowl game don't play a lot in the game. They'll go and participate in another round of practices where injuries are, I would say, injuries at an all-star practice are decreased from a normal game. So it's not the same risk factor. And I just think people took that crazy out of context, but I don't think this is going to have any long-term effect on the stability of the game or anything. Sure. And at the end of the day, the top guys, we talked about this, Coach? Oh, it might've been right before the season or right when Davius and Musa accepted their invites. This is really the first year outside of let's take the Akil Glass year out because I think Akil needed it as good of a prospect as he was last year. Who was the star HBCU guy who came to the Legacy Bowl? Nobody. Nobody who was going to really, nobody who had a real draft grade was going to the Legacy Bowl last year.
But Claude goes to the Legacy Bowl,
Yep.
has a phenomenal week, does what he needs to do in the game, so to speak. They have those notes. They remember it. He goes to pro day. He has another phenomenal day, signed in the NFL. That's a kid that needed the game.
Xavier Smith needed the game, and he's on the roster. And Hitman, I was saying draft grade. Xavier didn't have a real, like, he wasn't going to get picked in the draft. But it's good for those guys. But man, people got way out of character with it. But I mean, man, Coach, I want to get into some winners, man, because man, this week was huge for some guys. Huge for some guys. I want to talk about one guy in particular that really impressed me. Before we get into the obvious winners, everyone's expecting me to say Tariq Stort from North Carolina A&T was my favorite player of the week by far. 6'5", 310, Coach.
I missed him.
Offensive tackle from A&T. Coach, if you could build me an offensive lineman, Tariq would hit almost every box. You got the size, you got the weight, you got the physicality, you got the punch, the footwork, the aggressiveness, the shit talking, the attitude, the wanting to finish blocks. He did it all, man. I mean, Coach, this is a guy who plays tackle at 6'5", 310, right? The coaches had to physically remove him from the reps so other guys could get in the drill because he didn't want to leave. He wanted every single rep he could have. And playing tackle, they're doing center guard, combo blocking. He's in there playing guard just to get extra reps.
Showcase, baby.
I love it, man. And I'm telling you, man, when I watched
mindset.
I muted it because of music. That's why all the practice highlights guys are muted on my channel. They were playing copyrighted music in the background, and I wasn't getting the channel shut down over some one-on-one highlights. Anyway, we're watching it for the technique anyway, but there was no energy in Team Robinson. Zero. No talking, no celebrating, no fighting. Man, Tariq Stort and one guy had to be damn near separated because they're in each other's face talking like, man, line back up. Make sure not to duck me when this line comes back around. And I mean, he's trying to finish blocks in practice, coaching one-on-ones. He plays to the echo of the whistle, and I love his attitude, man. You can't teach that. His aggressiveness, he dominated one-on-ones. And then another guy in offensive line, D-line, Darian Brokenberg for Howard. 6'2", 265, had a really solid HBCU combine. He looked great coming off the line of scrimmage, just in terms of his explosiveness off the ball. Great hand placement, great power, did really, really well in the run positioning drills. I think he can fit it all. Plus, there was some talk that he can move to like a backer's position, whether it's a Will or a Sam. I think Darian Brokenberg's versatility and what he showed against bigger offensive tackles, that really stood out to me, man. And also, he's one of the guys that him and Tariq Stort were must-see TV in one-on-ones this week.
I missed them, but they were still buzzing about Stort when I got there because they were going off as I was coming on, and I think he did himself a solid by the way he came out and competed, and I guess he had an opportunity to show his feet because they were just the big dancing bear. So again, that's another kid who needed to showcase and stayed and did what he needed to do to up his stock.
Yeah. I think Jordan Tolles from Morgan State too, which is probably no surprise. Former LSU guy transferred to Morgan State. I want to say he came in at 6'1", 200, 205. Man, I liked everything that he showed, man. I think he can fit into multiple positions in the secondary. I think he has great ball skills, great athleticism. I think he fits exactly what the NFL or even the UFL and what is a CFL are looking for in a guy. I think he has good size. And also, too, his production was top notch. I mean, he had a strong argument for being Defensive Player of the Year this year. really,
Yeah,
really
and
strong case with Kenny Gallup.
I think he fits the mold of the kid at Baltimore. Kyle, is it Kyle Hampton?
Yeah.
He fits that mold. Could go out and give you a good matchup versus a tight end, but can hold his own versus a slot receiver, but can also go in that box and be okay. Uh, Probably needs to put a little more weight on, but he puts me in that mind of that guy, that type of player.
Yeah, I think another one, I kind of mentioned both of these guys earlier, Kamari Young, FAMU, and then
Yep.
Tristan Ballard from UAPB, both tight ends. But I thought Kamari Young was a guy who really flashed for me. 6'2", 240. I thought he did a good job showing off his hands this week. I listen, coach, we know where the NFL is going. I mean, unless you're George Kittle and could just be a mauler in the run blocking game, which there's not many of those
Yeah.
guys left. They need to show that you can go and catch the ball, be athletic in space. I thought he did a great job generating separation. I thought his footwork was good. He didn't drop. He didn't. I don't ever personally remember him dropping anything. Man, I thought Kamari Young had a big week. And coach, we talked about Tristan at your All Star game that you coached in. The kid's what 6'5", 240, and just his
Easily.
just his height and length and wingspan are all things that scouts are drawn to just because he's such a versatile weapon. I would lean Kamari if I had to pick a tight end right now in terms of performance this week, but I thought Tristan and Kamari both had big weeks. And then looking at my list, I know we just talked about his injury, but Davius Richard, coach, I'm talking, it wasn't even there wasn't even a discussion, and that's the topic we're probably going to end on is the National Player of the Year award, which is crazy. Anyway, I thought Davies had the best week of any quarterback. I thought in practice he had the best ball placement, definitely had the best arm, one of the more athletic quarterbacks, and he was also a leader too. Coach, kids gravitated to him. I think you saw the reaction from both sidelines when he went down with his injury on just what type of an impact he had on both locker rooms and both teams. Man, Davius is just that guy, and you want that in a quarterback, coach. If the team isn't gravitating towards your quarterback, man, you could be in for some problems.
Oh, no doubt. But showing that because he comes off as a quiet demeanor, but showing that that he has that fire in him, I think is was definitely a plus for him, which I'm sure he had already demonstrated, at the Shrine. Uh, and let me go back because I'm kind of going through the comments. I don't know, and we're just talking, so I don't know if it's even an option to play off of NFL playbooks. Now, when I got there Friday, there was a gang of NFL balls there. There was a gang of Saints staff there when I was there as well. So when I say that, I'm saying that if that's not something they've looked into, that's something they need to look into. I'm not saying the NFL withholds balls or playbooks or coaching staffs or anything like that. I'm saying those are things going forward to make sure that those are in place. The coaching staff thing, I think it's more to it than what us common people, common fans would know. To getting a full staff to come and be there for the week, it's tough. But I still think it's a way that they can do it. And if it's not current, former, like the UA high school All-American game, they have former NFL guys come in. I think that's something that's doable and something that they should look into going forward. Not that they haven't, or not that the NFL shut them down. I don't know that. I'm just saying those are things that I think going forward could take the game to the next level. So I want to make sure I cleared that up.
Yeah, and then my last one, man. Coach, I want to. Yeah, you probably played against this guy. Cedric Anderson was the best defensive back all week out of Grambling State. I mean, like especially like true corner. Yeah, he was that guy. I mean, coach, you can't teach 6'3", almost 200 pounds.
No, and I didn't know, and we did play against him, but I didn't realize he was that tall until I got a chance to stand next to him, and I'm like, wow, okay, he could probably go to the roof as well and help himself out playing safety. But he's really, really long, great length, really good ball skills, which I was really surprised about. Most DBs struggle with that thing in the air, but he was kind of a natural with it, watching him do drills on Friday. So I was really impressed with him. So I hope he has a good pro day because he's got the tools. Now it's just the physical tools. Now it's just him putting it on grass when he needs to do it in front of the scouts.
So look, I got the combine numbers pulled up here. He measured in at 6'3", 192, had an 82-inch wingspan too, which is long arms, and ran a 4.6 coach with a 1.6 split.
That's crazy.
Had a 34-inch vert, a 10.09 broad, a 4.4 shuttle. So I mean, the kid went out and balled at the combine, and like I said, Coach, he came in as a safety, moved him to corner, and didn't miss a beat. So so I love when guys can show, because Coach, you know how it is in the secondary.
Versatility.
If you can be a positionless defensive back, man, your opportunities, because you can fit so many different schemes. If a guy goes down with an injury, you can step in. Man,
you can play all five. You can make money. You can play all five. You can make money.
Yeah, Cedric Anderson was that guy, man. 6'3", 4.6, 40. Man, I loved what he did, man, all week. And some honorable mentions. I see it in the chat. I like what Noah Washington did out of Morgan. Obviously the South Carolina State guys, Godbolt and Jablonski, both had especially big games. But they had pretty good weeks of practice as well. And Derek, they did not bench press at the combine.
That'll be a pro day. From what I understand, they didn't want to do that there because of, I guess in the past, a lot of guys have kind of opted out of that until pro day. So they give them an opportunity to get back and get themselves ready to go for pro days at their respective schools.
Yeah. So guys, if you go to the website, FCS Football Central, excuse me, Gerald G, who's working with us a little bit now, has all the height, weight, hand size, wingspan, 40, 10-yard split, vert, broad, shuttle, 3-cone for all the guys who participated at the HBCU Combine. Okay, all the FCS HBCU guys. We didn't have the D2 stats. I will say, Coach, I'm not a D2 guy. And
right.
Lubert Danellis out of Benedict
looked great.
Dog. Nothing but that kid's a dog. He is what Jason Dumas would be if Jason Dumas wasn't 5'9". Because he's still undersized. He's 5'11", 286, Coach. But I'm talking about,
good, though.
He was on Team Robinson. Nobody could block him in one-on-ones. Nobody.
He'll get an opportunity, and he can make a living over in the CFL. He can make a career over there, and the UFL as well.
The crazy part is, Coach, he played this season at edge rusher and put on like 20 pounds going into the Legacy Bowl to show that he could play the 3.
Right. And when I heard that, I was like, man, that's impressive.
Yeah.
That's impressive. And it wasn't a bad 20 pounds.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. And Coach, I'm telling you, I think it's on the day 3 clip on the channel. He was playing the 3, and he used like a little half spin where he faked spinning one way and it went the other way. And that kid had no idea what hit him. It was beautiful. I mean, and the way he keeps the offensive lineman's hands off of him, his hand speed, hand placement, A1, man. And I think you got to give a shout to the running backs too. Ladarius Owens had a really good week of practice. I mean,
yes,
there's a reason he ran for 1,300 yards in the SWAC last year. He showed why. He's a little bit undersized at 5'8". I like that he came in at 185. I think that's a solid weight for his height. But I think he's a guy that if he gets a shot at the UFL, CFL coach, I think he can make some money.
And if he can prove that he can do some things in the return game, special team wise, running a 4.3, he'll be able to stick around in the league and make a living. Nothing against the CFL, but if he can prove he can return punts just a little, he'll have an opportunity to stick with the team, with an NFL team, with that kind of speed.
A big thing for him this week was pass catching, because they had Ja'Cory Howard and they had Ladarius. Well, Howard was the pass catching back. for the
Yeah.
most part. So
Third down guy. Yep.
yeah, so the NFL guys really wanted to see if Ladarius could get out of the backfield, run some routes, and make some plays as a pass catcher, which is fair. And I think when you have such a versatile running back room, and you kind of saw the same thing with Isaiah Davis from South Dakota State, Amar Johnson was kind of that guy that they would get out of the backfield, throw it to, give him some of the more versatile looks. Isaiah Davis had to prove that at the Senior Bowl, so it's really common. But before we move on to the award, Coach, I want to go back to the combine because we haven't had a chance to talk about it on live. Some of the guys that stood out to me, and I'll throw it to you after this to see if you have any thoughts. John Huggins, Jackson State, came in, Coach, 6'1", 211, 4.45 40-yard dash, and 38.5 vert.
Getting up.
Yeah. John Huggins, I think if you built a guy for a combine, is John Huggins, because he looks the part for sure. I think the biggest thing for him, what I was told, is if he can just take what he does at the combine and put that on the field, man, this is a guy who's going to get a roster spot. It's just that right now the film hasn't really matched up to what he showed at the combine yet. Even I'm not saying this film's bad. He's a good player, but it's not to the level that you would imagine based on his combine performance. Another one, obviously everyone was talking about Jarvion's performance. I didn't put him in my winners for the week because he left after day one. 5'9", 215, 4.5 40. I was shocked at his 40, man. He told us he was going to do it, and I was like, man, we'll see. I questioned him, man. He balled out. And also, too, no surprise here, Coach, killed the interview process from what everyone said. Me and you both know Jarvion pretty well, especially you. Doesn't surprise me at all that Jarvion killed the interview process.
Right. He prides himself on being able to back up what he says he's going to be able to do. And me and you both are like, come on, man, 4.4, 4.5. So for him to go train, put the extra pounds on the right way and come in, that was huge. And with Pro Day coming up, it'll be interesting to see what he does in the rest of the drills going forward, and giving himself an opportunity to earn a spot. Getting the draft grade was huge, but now taking it to the next stop once you get to a Pro Day and kind of go from there. So same thing with the kid from Jackson. They want to see, does the tape match the measurables? And if it doesn't, why doesn't it? What's causing us not to have the match? So if you can catch the eye, because those guys are going to always feel like, oh, man, I can get Zach to do X, Y, and Z, even though they couldn't. Oh, yeah, definitely. Zach just ran a 4.5. I definitely can get him to do that. So, that's one of those things where you just got to put it out there and put your best foot forward, and that's what that kid did.
I did hear Huggins could make a move to like a box safety almost, like one of those hybrid type linebackers, just because of his size. And because you know how it is, man. Like with the NFL nowadays, it's I don't want to say it's positionless, because obviously there's positions, but as much positionless football as you can go defensively, man, the more versatile your defense becomes. If you can have those guys that can play 3, 4, 5 different type of schemes or positions or stuff like that, it just opens up your play calling so much more. Because also too, with the hurry up offense, speed of the game going up, you don't have to sub as much.
You don't have to change your personnel.
Yep.
If you want to go 3 down, you can go 3 down. If you've got an edge guy that you can trust to stand up and be able to go back there and get you into a 3-3 type thing. It's like you said, not saying positionless, but when we came up, there was true Mike backers. There were true defensive ends, true safeties. It's no longer that. You might be on the roof one play, and then they run another call on the defense, and now you're in the box. And if you can do that, you can make yourself a lot of money.
Yeah, I think another one, Eric Smith from FAMU, cornerback, safety. I just call him a defensive back. Coach, he's undersized, 5'8", 167, but ran a 4.34 and had a 36-inch vert. Athleticism is crazy.
Another guy that if he can do anything in the return game, and if he can hold a nickel or dime spot inside, one of those inside corners, his speed alone will give him an opportunity to get a look.
Yeah, I think some honorable mentions, Jaheim Hazel from Jackson as well. 5'10", 188, 4'4" in the 40. I think he would probably be one of my honorable mentions for the week too. Coach, he had that, what came in from Wofford, put up what 4 picks, which was like tied for first in the league this year in the SWAC. And he kind of backed up that film this week, man. His ball skills are next level. Now, he might not flash in other aspects of his game, but if you want a guy who can go find the football,
Yeah.
he can go find the football. He had the they were only scrimmaging on half the field, but it would have been a pick six. I'm talking about Musa never saw him. And I mean, he broke on it. It would have been to the house with a full escort of defensive players to the house if that would have been live. And then another honorable mention, real quick, Tamon Cook from North Carolina A&T, who, Coach, if you don't remember him, he was a wide receiver, but he also was an All-American kick returner for them. 5'11", 185, ran a 4.39. And I think for a specialist like him, where he's a return guy, they just wanted to see the speed. And so even if he's not drafted, he's a guy who's going to get an invite to camp just because of what he can do with the football. Because I want to say he had 3 or 4 kick returns this year.
Yeah, if his name's not called, the minute the commissioner closes out the draft, his phone will be ringing and he'll have a pick of where he wants to go to get into camp with a serious opportunity. Not just a camp invite, but a camp invite with the thought of making a roster.
Yeah.
His size, 4'3".
Yeah, he has 16 kickoff returns total for 547 yards and 3 touchdowns this year.
Just think if they could have got the ball to him.
Yeah, that's the thing with A&T is I don't think it was like, now, do I think they had an elite wide receiving core? No. But do I think they had a good enough receiving core? Yes. And I think it was a quarterback play calling issue, which
you got a guy who runs 4.3, man. There's no reason you should be throwing for under 75 yards in a freaking game. You could throw it 10 times deep and come up with more than that just because he outrun everybody. But that's a whole other show.
Yeah, a whole nother show on that one. But man, the last topic here, man, I had an awesome week at the Legacy Bowl, man. Shout out to everybody for letting me come cover it, man. 3rd straight year covering it. I don't know how many other media members out there could say they've been there all week for 3 straight years, but man, I'm going to keep doing it as long as they let me, man, because I have an absolute blast. And plus, I love New Orleans. The food, less than 2-hour drive from my house. Like, I'm there every year they have it in New Orleans. I'll say that. Coach, the final topic. Deacon Jones Trophy announced, given by the Black College Football Hall of Fame. Co-winners this year for the first time ever. Jeremy Musa from FAMU and Davius Richard from Central. Look, my guys from FAMU already know where I'm going, so don't kill my guy, Blue. But like, I'll just come out and say it. This feels like everyone gets a trophy vibe. We're just giving out participation trophies for player of the years now at this point. I mean,
yeah, because it wasn't close.
What's the argument for Musa?
Yeah, it wasn't close.
Like, can someone, like, I need someone, okay.
He won the Natty. Won the Natty.
Then why wasn't it Co last year?
I'm just saying that, not me. I'm just saying that's what's going to come up.
Like, the only argument is he won the Celebration Bowl, but if we're giving out Co trophies because of Celebration Bowl wins, then it should have been Co last year. Because I'll say this, Coach, the gap between Shador and Davius last year is smaller than the gap between Davius and Musa this year.
Oh, no doubt.
The kid ran for 18 touchdowns, Coach, and led his team in rushing. And played in, I want to say, one less game than Davius. Than Musa, and got hurt in the playoff game where he had 200 yards passing and like 2 passing touchdowns before he got hurt.
Oh.
And didn't play against Valley.
Yeah.
Where the backup threw for like 300 yards and 5 touchdowns against Valley. Like, what? I don't get it. Listen, and this isn't a shot at Musa, but bro,
not at all.
For real? Like, Musa, I'm cool with SWAC Office Player of the Year, whatever. I'm good with that. I thought we gave it to Ladarius for our publication, but I'm not mad at it. But bro, to me, you can't have co-offensive players of the year. Like, that's crazy. Like,
unless the numbers, Yeah, I mean, there's got to be a deciding factor.
Oh God, it's so dumb. I don't understand it. I just that just killed me because like I feel so bad for Davius, man. Last year, you don't get a co after winning the Natty. Apparently, that's the standard now. Then this year, they rob you of your award and give it to another quarterback who didn't deserve it, and then you get hurt in the freaking bowl game, bro. Oh, I'd be
But
furious.
you won that one. Now, I mean,
I'd
I,
be furious.
I, and I know we're wrapping up, but I need your feelings, your thoughts on him winning the offensive player of the game for the Legacy Bowl.
Okay, hear me out, and excuse my language.
And I know it was 10-6. I get it.
Excuse my language. Who the fuck else gets it?
That's what I'm saying. I know it was 10-6, but I mean,
who gets it? Like, do you give it to the guy who fell down and got lucky that no one touched him and took off for the end zone? Or do you give it to one of the 5 quarterbacks that look like JV players out there? And then, because here's the problem you run into. The best running back was Ladarius Owens on the losing team, and you gave the defensive MVP to a player on the losing team. You would have had 2 MVPs from a team that lost the game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. And you had to get, because let's be honest, like at the end of the day, who looked like the best player in the game? Whether it was 4 or 5 plays.
For the time he was there, player? I mean, no doubt. For the time he was there, no doubt. But
the punters get the MVP? I mean, maybe. You can't give it to the field goal kickers because they're out there shanking freaking extra points.
I just, I didn't like the optics of it. Because I felt like that was hey man, we sorry what happened. Yeah, we sorry what happened. I felt like that's what that was. Hey, we're sorry what happened, but hey.
The bad part is he was the only player that purposely scored a touchdown.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
Like,
I mean,
put that in perspective, bro. It was 10-6. And just think about Davius's drive. It looked effortless. They scored.
I was bang, 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 bang.
I mean, he led them straight down the field, and there wasn't a single other player on the field that could consistently get past a 50. Like, Coach, I haven't even seen the official stats of the game because I think they're too embarrassed to release them. Really and truly, have you seen a single stat from the game?
No.
I just don't think they want to put it out there.
I thought maybe I was looking in the wrong place.
No, I haven't seen it. I don't think it got emailed to us. Like, I can check my email right now. I don't think we have official stats for the game. Not my email. And that's where they would send it because I was credential media for the game.
Man. Okay. I was trying to, but no.
It's not on the internet. Not on the internet. So Craig in the chat said they only used NFL footballs this week. So that's good. Man, I mean, but listen, man, let's end it with this. If there's anybody out in on the internet saying that this game shouldn't happen, bro, just that's when the mute button on Twitter is perfect because those people have zero idea what they're talking about. But
didn't come from us.
Yeah, but there is a strong conversation about how the top prospects in HBCU football are going to look at the game because at the end of the day, if they can go participate in the Shrine or Senior Bowl, you have to take that opportunity. No, I don't think anyone's debating that. The Hula Bowl, but I think there's a conversation to be had about the date of the game moving forward. I think there's a conversation to be had about the invitation process. And Coach, I didn't know this until this year. Did you know the Combine and the Legacy Bowl are not connected technically?
No, I didn't. I found that out.
Yeah, run Friday by 2 different entities. Got to find a way to combine that
Yeah, I found that
because
out Friday.
there's no way that guys should be
Same
getting an
guy.
invite. Yeah, how are you getting an invite to the combine but not the game and vice versa?
Yeah, to me, it should be the same guys.
Yeah, so I don't know how that's going to work. And then also too, I mean, and for the people talking about moving the date is stupid and all this stuff, everybody's moving their date. The Senior Bowl is going to move their date. The Shrine Bowl is going to move their date. Hula Bowl's got to move their date because, Coach, I don't know if you saw the new what is it? The college football playoff for the FBS. The
Yeah, up
national
to
championships on January 20th.
yeah, dragging it
It's
out,
not
baby.
the Senior Bowl practices started like January, what like 30 something or something like
Yeah,
that.
the end of it. Yeah, the end of January.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you can't have it that close. Oh, the whole schedule's moving back. I talked to some people at the Legacy Bowl, some NFL guys and everything. They think the draft's moving back. They think the NFL combine's moving back. So for everyone saying that the Legacy Bowl shouldn't move and it's ridiculous, it's not because the date doesn't
that's
work or anything. It's because the whole schedule's about to be shifted back because of the expanded college football playoff. That's the reasoning. Now, I do think there's a conversation to be had that it should be the first bowl game. And I've heard that from a lot of people who are involved with the game that this game should come before the Shrine and Senior Bowl to give these guys a chance to be elevated to another bowl game.
I'm with that.
And that's an interesting conversation that we can have on another episode. But that's just some of the stuff I've been that was talked about at the practices between scouts and people that were around. And shout out to my guy RJ Mobley, man. Also had a really, really good week, man, at wide receiver. You know, I forgot to mention that I didn't talk a lot of D2 guys, but he was probably the best D2 wide receiver in attendance this week. So got to give a shout out to RJ. But yeah, and
Where's
like
the
Dave, like
Where's the Hula Bowl?
Is it Orlando? I want to say it's Orlando. Yeah.
Probably going there over any other bowl. I mean, if I got an
Yeah.
opportunity, I'm just saying.
Well, so the conversation kind of surrounds so if you're a top, let's just say top prospect in general, obviously like when you start like the list of caliber of all-star games, it starts with the Senior and Shrine.
No doubt.
Senior's a little bit ahead of the Shrine right now for me, but the Shrine's catching up exponentially. Like the Shrine has I remember as a kid, the Shrine Bowl was just like another bowl. Like the East-West game never competed with the Senior Bowl, and now it's right there with the Senior Bowl.
The blue-gray game, baby.
Oh, yeah, the blue-gray game. You also had the NFLPA Bowl. All those have kind of gone away now, but I think it's a Senior Shrine. Then you got to throw in the Hula, and then you probably got like the Legacy Bowl. What is it? The CSG game down in is that I want to say Miami, but I could be wrong. Somewhere it's like CSG game. You got like the Pigskin Showdown that was in Mobile this year. Like then you get to kind of those games, but I think
when the Shrine Bowl still gives the invite to declaring underclassmen as well.
All of them do now.
The Senior Bowl, I didn't know the Senior Bowl started.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, all the All-Star games starting this year, I think they could do it. It gives invites to juniors now. Okay. So if you declare early, you can get an invite. So I mean, Jaden Sheridan from Monmouth, the running back, one of the FCS guys that declared early, he got an invite to the Shrine Bowl.
Yeah, I knew that's what made the Shrine Bowl more attractive, so to speak.
Now, I know the Senior Bowl could have invited juniors. Now, did they? I'm not sure. I don't know if they invited a bunch, but that's something to monitor moving forward too, is that with the influx of juniors, because Coach, we know with the Senior and Shrine Bowl is aggravating as all hell you can get. They're going to invite a junior from Georgia, Michigan, Bama, wherever first. I wonder how many spots are going to start being available for FCS guys. That's a whole nother realm of conversation, because this year at the Senior Bowl, you had 4 FCS guys, technically 5. Kieran would have got an invite, but Kieran's overcoming a pretty significant injury, wasn't able to play, was there for interviews, but really wasn't officially there. Shrine Bowl, oh, what was it, like 18 guys? 19
Yeah, I
guys,
think it's the
FCS
most.
guys went to the Shrine Bowl. So man,
Yeah.
Shrine Bowl had way, way more FCS representation, HBCU representation. You had a name Donkwa, Mikey Victor, Sunday out of Anderson. Heck, South Dakota State had like 4 guys there. 4 or 5 guys came from South Dakota State this year. Um, Hitman, Bubba was there. Colton Allen's was at the Legacy Bowl. So yeah, he's not coming back. He declared, was at the Legacy Bowl, had a pretty good week. Um, but yeah, so I think there's a conversation to be had on if you put if you put the Hula and Legacy Bowl before the Shrine and Senior Bowl, how many of those guys get elevated? Well, let the Hula Bowl tell it. Let's just go off of data. I want to say, God, like 5 or 6 FCS guys that went to Hula got invites to East West Shrine Bowl.
That's big time.
So you can get elevated these bigger bowl. There's no reason to have this game after the Senior Bowl and Shrine Bowl because decent. What is it? There's no incentive for the top prospects to come to the Legacy Bowl if it's after the bigger bowl game. And 2, it gives none of those borderline or bubble prospects who
the opportunity.
like a Cedric Anderson at corner, 6'3", runs a 4.6, has a big week. Man, if this game was a few weeks earlier, could he be going to Frisco for the Shrine Bowl and have another guy there to get in front of more scouts? And again, like I say, he probably won't play in the game because you don't want to play in back-to-back bowl games. But at least during that week of practice, he can show the scouts how not only does he match up to all the guys at the Legacy Bowl, but now he can show how he matches up against those wide receivers at Michigan, those wide receivers at Bama, those wide receivers at Texas, and bigger schools like that, which is ultimately what the scouts want to see, is how you handle yourself in one-on-ones. And it's just more exposure. So that's, in my opinion, the way you should look at it. But I know not everyone agrees, and that's cool. I'm good with that. But Coach, man, final takeaways from the Legacy Bowl, moving into spring practices. What date do you guys start?
Oh man, we start the end of this week. We're gonna move up. We're rolling early, get it going, and then that way we get the guys back into the weight room before they get out of school for a full, almost a full month before they go home for the summer. So that was one of the things Coach Thomas wanted to put emphasis on. Get the grass work done, and then get right back in that iron hole and get ready to rock.
Man, I love it. Yeah, great week, man. All the practice highlights are already up on the on our YouTube channel. You can find them just on the homepage. Coaches Lounge later this week. Guests to be announced very soon. Also, another episode of the Coaches Corner coming later this week. We're gonna get back on our grind in terms of doing these live streams on. We're gonna pick a day and roll with it. Talk about the biggest storylines, man, because we didn't even get to hit everything. There's a lot of storylines we missed. But Coach, what you got?
We got to get Mr. Pierre on. He's in the chat. Thank you for everything. Top notch. We got to get you in on the show. Rather it's this Coach's Corner. I don't know if you're ready for the lounge, Mr. Pierre, but we definitely got to get you on, man. And thank you for all the hospitality this week. Thank you.
That's a fact, man. Shout out to him, man. Shout out for supporting the show, man. Coming up to us, chopping it up with us at the game, man. It was good to see everyone, man. I see my guy Gerald. I see all my other guys from Draft HBCU, Ken, Nook, TD, Austin, ASA, head of Jack State media department, man. I see all my guys. Shout out to all the players, man. Got to catch up with Bubba, Jarvion, all my guys. It was good to see everyone, man. I'm really rooting, man. I'm more hopeful, Coach, because going into All-Star games, I was hearing a very, very sad number for the number of HBCU FCS guys to get drafted this year. Post All-Star game, I'm very, very hopeful, man. That's going to be on one of our next episodes, kind of talk about the guys that we're hearing that have a real draft grade, a real shot to get drafted, because the number has skyrocketed throughout All-Star games, man. That's huge, man, because it was going to be an interesting cycle. But listen, Combine starts this week too. A few FCS guys are going to be taking their talents to Indy for the Combine. You can follow along on the website. We're going to have official results and a breakdown for every single FCS HBCU guy at the Combine, man. So make sure to check that out. But guys, for the Coaches Corner, for my guy, what's up?
We can't end without letting the guys from Hack City know.
Oh, that's a fact.
That they better get used to the Bluebloods, baby. Because we're the best thing going today.
Oh,
woo! Happy birthday, Ric Flair.
Man, in case you guys don't know, man, shout out to my guys over there at the Hack City podcast, man. They were asked a mailbag question about how they would fare in a what was it, like a
battle royal?
Yeah, battle royale against all the
tag
other
team battle royal.
Yeah, FCS podcasters, and they just glossed over us, man. They said, man, we ain't worried about the Bluebloods, Zach and Coach Fred, man. So we had to stand up for ourselves on social media, man. Shout out to those guys, man. They do a great job. Joe and Sean do a heck of a job, man. Go check out Hack City podcast, man. I want to say they're part of the Believe Network, if I'm not mistaken. So shout out to them, guys. But for Coach Fred, for myself, for the Bluebloods FCS Football Central, man, check out the website all week for content. But we out.